Hello, and welcome to the Nats Talk podcast. Yes, it is the Nats Talk podcast now and not the Talk Nats podcast. Little drama in Talk Nats land this week. I don't know much about it, but what I do know is that we are now the Nats Talk podcast. And for the regular blog and website, you should go to nats.talkdcsports.com. That's nats.talkdcsports.com. We are, though, still sponsored by Old DC Apparel. Go to shopoldDC.com for the latest and greatest in original DC fan gear. Got a pretty cool new Wizard shirt up, celebrating winning the draft. The rumors Giannis might come here. DC's turning into a basketball town. Check out that shirt. Kind of a cool way to celebrate. And the mayor's wearing the hats out during her public appearances. How cool is that? That's shopoldDC.com for the newest and coolest DC fan gear. In terms of the podcast, our name may have changed, but you can still find us in all of the regular places. If you're a subscriber on the YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple, anywhere else, that's all still good. Our handle on X is now Nats Talk Podcast, and that is the same as our YouTube handle, where you can see the video version of the show. All right. We took last week off. I was in Vegas with my wife doing a little bit of sports gambling, a lot of eating and drinking, a little bit of time at the Lazy Rizzo at the MGM. That was pretty fun. Recommend Vegas if you can make it out there. I'm excited for that new A's stadium across the street from the MGM. That'd be a nice destination for baseball fans. Maybe go catch the Nats out there, every couple of years in a 3-game series. I will probably be doing that. In terms of the team, wow, they did great while I was away. Amazing series in Atlanta and Cleveland. Honestly, looking like a playoff contender, a wild card contender. I did not have that on my bingo card. Pitching has drastically improved. The hitting is still leading Major League Baseball in runs scored. I don't think this is anything that any of us expected as fans. And I've also noticed on X, Twitter, etc., Mike Rizzo is getting a cultural reevaluation of sorts. He acquired James Woods, C.J. Abrams, Dalen Lyle, most of these guys who are scoring most of these runs. And it just so happens that our guest this week is the one and only Mike Rizzo, also joined by his wife, Jodi, as they wanted to talk about their blackjack and barbecue event coming up at MGM later this summer. We went on for quite a while, which I appreciate. I think we might have gone on maybe a little longer than I expected. So I really, really appreciate it, Rizzo's. And so we're going to break this up into two parts. This first part today, we'll get into a little bit of their charity event coming up at the MGM. And, we'll talk about the glory days of the 20 teens and how Mike approached building that team. So without any further ado, here are Mike and Jodi Rizzo. So right now we are joined by one of my personal heroes. I actually have the bobblehead here in my office, the architect of the 2010s Nationals Glory Days and 2019 World Series Championship, the great Mike Rizzo, and his better half, Jodi. Thanks so much, guys, for being with us today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having us.
Now, before we get into some baseball talk, Jodi, I understand, you have a foundation that you wanted to talk about, and we definitely want to give you a platform to do that.
Thank you. First off, thanks for having us on. We're really proud. This is our third year now of the Rizzo Family Foundation, which focuses on helping out nonprofits in our area that benefit children and their families directly in Washington, D.C. Part of our foundation, we provide 2 scholarships to Washington, D.C. seniors every year. And then we also provide a grant to a worthy nonprofit in our area. We're very proud this year to announce the DC Grays is one of our grantees. which is amazing. And then also we've just been really, really proud of the work that we've been able to do. And yeah, we would love for all Nats Nation to join us once again at MGM National Harbor on August 9th for our annual Blackjack and Barbecue Bash, which is just a really fun night of, former Nats, current Nats, everyone, politicians, you name it. Just a really nice, fun night at MGM National Harbor for raising money for a really good cause.
That's awesome. That's also who are going to be some of the folks joining you at this event.
Well, you can go to rizkids.com and get all the information for it. But in the past couple of years, we've had, of course, Ryan Zimmerman, Gio Gonzalez, Drew Storen, Tyler Clippard. This year we're hoping to get Jason Worth, Sean Kelly, Ian Desmon, and a bunch of guys that are current Nats, past alumni Nats, people from the Commanders come. Cool. Some media people come. We have politicians come in. The former governor of Virginia often stops by and plays a little blackjack. So it's go online. You'll see some videos of our two past events, and they're a blast. There's the blackjack tournament from that MGM takes good care of us, and then there's the barbecue bash is probably the highlight of the evening, because you've got former and current Nats players and these other people letting their hair down. We're eating barbecue, we're having a few beers, we're smoking lots of cigars, and just having a blast. And it all goes for a worthy cause that's near and dear to our hearts. And we just love the fact that we're giving back to the Washington D.C. area, and all the proceeds from this bash and from our entire foundation stays within the Washington D.C. boundaries.
That's awesome. I live just over the river in Alexandria. I'll try to get my wife over there. Sounds like a great event.
You don't need to play blackjack to attend. So, you need blackjack, or you can root for everybody and then just go, obviously to the blackjack tournament and enjoy it, and then go to the barbecue. But yeah, we're really proud of the foundation, and we've just loved being a part of the DC community for 2 decades now. It's a place we're very proud to call home, and we love everything we do with it.
That's awesome. So that's great. Definitely support that. Now, I was going to transition a little bit back to speaking of DC and the glory days. If you're up for talking about it, I wanted to. I think a lot of Nats fans, obviously, with the team doing what it's doing now and kind of looking at like the roster you left, and then but I wanted to go back to the roster you built way back in the day. You took over the team in relatively dark period, not a lot of wins, not a lot of history, and from when you took over to what you built, you built it into a program where over a 10-year period, I think you had the most wins in baseball, just below the Los Angeles Dodgers, right? Just like what went into that process, starting kind of at the bottom and building the Nats into a juggernaut for almost a decade?
Well, I think that the biggest hurdle that we had, we were previously owned by MLB at the time, if you remember, where the Lerner family purchased it from the MLB. So they weren't great caretakers of the franchises. It was baseball owned it, and when the Lerners took over, we were. I had been a member of a franchise that in their inauguration with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and back in 1998 when the Diamondbacks became a franchise. So I was experienced in doing this, and if I had to balance and gauge where the two franchises were when we took over with the Lerner family and where we were at Arizona, we were the Arizona franchise was way ahead of schedule because of the way that the minor leagues were taken care of, and the facilities and all that stuff from MLB. So we were really scrambling from a below almost entry point of a franchise that was just becoming major league caliber. So the first thing we did, and when I got the general manager's job in March of 2009. I felt that we had to really distinguish ourselves and create a culture of winning, and winning has a lot of tentacles to it, and there's several ways of doing it. But we had a specific blueprint in mind of how we were going to do it through scouting and player development and through the minor league system, and let it blossom at the big league level. And I think that the greatest portion of franchise creation is building the culture. Building a culture of winning is the most important thing. And when you're a expansion team or a new team, you're going to lose a lot of games. And the fact that when you're losing games, and you could still build a franchise of we always said our pillars are they were defined, and they were defined and definite, and they were given to our front office and to our rosters on a monthly basis. Is that we care to build a culture that we wanted to win, that we wanted to have here in DC to win competitively and consistently throughout the years. You don't want to be a one and done ball club. Was to we had these pillars that we cared about. We wanted to be good. We wanted to be good between the lines. Obviously, winning is what it's all about. But we also have to have players that are good between the lines. They're good in clubhouse, and they're good in the community. And I think that is how you begin the foundation of a culture change in DC, which we needed. And I think that when you look at the rosters that we had in 09, 10, and 11, you could see the momentum of how these players who we were still losing a lot of games, more games than we wanted to, but we were actually improving each year on the win column. But we were also building the foundation in the minor league system, and when these guys got to the big leagues, they knew what was expected of them at the big league level, how to conduct yourselves like a big leaguer. Care about the name on the front of the jersey more than the name on the back of the jersey, and we're going to do this. We're going to do this in the Nationals way, and that's how we kind of had the synergy to go from 2009 to win the most games in the league in 2012.
Yeah, no, we talk a lot about. On our show this season, about maybe this version of the Nats, we've talked a lot about how it needs a Jason Worth type. Now that we have you, I mean, you're the man who acquired the actual Jason Worth. What went into that decision in 2011? Did you feel like the roster was ready to add a big veteran like that, a leader?
Yeah, I think that we were extremely young in 10 and 11, and we were seeing the kind of the fruits of our labor, if you will, coming to fruition, and trying, getting better on the win-loss column. But also, we're seeing a minor league system that's kind of getting better and better at each level. But we're seeing some young players at the big league level, starting to ascend, and where we said to ourselves, these guys are going to be good big league players. You burn some of Ian Desmond, for example, who became a 3 or 4 year, 5 year minor league player, kind of established himself as at the big league level. Went on to win 3 or 4 Silver Slugger awards and some All-Stars, and made a lot of money when he left the Nats. So and then when we established our rotation with the draft acquisition of Strauss and Jordan Zimmerman and that group of guys, when we said to ourselves, okay, so they became front of the rotation guys in our mind, and we had some middle of the lineup players that they're setting up for us. We made the trade for Wilson Ramos, and Desi was at at second base and so forth. And we saw ourselves, the needle was pointing north. We were ascending in the right direction. But I think what was not where we wanted to be was that we weren't as professional as other organizations were in our preparation, in our medical, and the way our medical treatment and our trainers, and so when we saw this, and we were in a free agent market when we did sign JW, was he kind of checked all those boxes. He was a world champ, so he knew how to win. He was a kind of the kind of player that we liked, a gritty, gutsy kind of dirtbag player. He wasn't a star. Mm-hmm. He wasn't a star, but he was a hell of a good player, and fundamentally as good a base runner as you're ever going to find. And he was a good base stealer. When we acquired him, he was a good defensive outfielder, and he really knew how to play the game. His baseball IQ was off the chart. So he impressed me. To the point where we thought that if we're going to make a splash and get a guy that can grow with us, and don't forget Harp was on the horizon. Mm-hmm. He was coming. They had the same agent to each other previous, so we had kind of a mentor, built-in mentor with Worth, if you will. So all those things went into our decision to make an offer to JW, and making an offer when you're a 100-loss team and he's got options to go. We had to sell this thing to him. Mm-hmm. So I remember going to the Boris compound in Newport Beach, and we met with Jason and his team of attorneys and agents and stuff like that, and I mapped out a blueprint for what the Nationals are going to look like 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years down the road, and I really gave him all the insights and inner communication information that we had, and at the end of the day, he was sold on us that we were going in the right direction. He trusted the process, that ownership would be true to their word, and he chose us over the Red Sox and several other teams. Now we paid him more money and we gave him more years, which added to it. But he wanted to win, and he wanted to kind of be that catalyst to help us get to the next level.
That's great.
That was a long answer for that short question.
Hey, I love it. I mean, I love these long answers. It's really good stuff, and we appreciate it. Now, we did have a couple members of that group on our show recently, Drew Storr and Tyler Clippard. Drew hinted that if there was an ABS challenge system back in 2012, that season might have gone differently. Do you have any thoughts on that? And if not, how generally do you feel about these new rules and these new technology changes that have come into baseball?
I really enjoyed. I think the pitch clock rule, I think that was as big a rule change as we've ever had in baseball. Mm-hmm. That really made the game a lot more enjoyable for the fans to watch, in my opinion. The ABS, I think umpiring is the most difficult sport to officiate, especially home plate umpire, balls and strikes. And I think they do a magnificent job. They always have. And to me, they're the top officials in all the sports. But with the technology we have and the way the game is right now, I don't see why not utilize the ABS system. I think that the way that I've seen it implemented in AAA for years was great, and I think the way they're implementing it in the big leagues is solid. I think you'll see improvements as we get used to this technology, and I think it's beneficial for the fan base to really get to enjoy the game. And one benefit that I didn't really think about when the rule change was there's that moment where there's like that 5 second moment where the challenge and then the thing comes on the screen. That's kind of cool, right? That I think the fans like. That's like a drama filled 3 or 5 seconds. So it's I think it's a good change, and I love Drew Storn and I love Tyler Clippard, and I just we didn't have the ABS then, so you got to get a guy out over the plate, and unfortunately that time we didn't do it. But you know what that did? 12, 14, 16, 17, built us up for winning the championship in 2019. And I think that we learned a lot from each and every defeat in the playoffs that we had. And when you look at our playoff record, we're 19 and 17 all time in playoffs, and we've got 4 division titles and a wild card championship and a world championship to our resume. So it's lessons learned, and I think that you could learn something from every opportunity you had.
Absolutely. Now, a lot of GMs build teams and they have like a little run and then they kind of fade away. I mean, you built a team and kind of kept adding to it. You made some really great trades. You mentioned Wilson Ramos before, for Matt Capps. The Trey Turner-Joe Ross deal, I think, stands out to most Nats fans as like a huge win. But were there any other, did you have a favorite move or a favorite kind of trade you made along the way to extend that window?
Yeah, I mean, we were trying to extend the window just about every year. We traded away 45 of our good minor league drafts and players to acquire pieces. You know what I mean? Because we were in this window of our championship window. From 12 to like 21, we were trying to win championships, and to do that, at the trade deadline, you often have to add pieces. So I mean, you take your big swings that we've had. The Willie Ramos thing was a steal. I love Matt Capps, and we joke about it to this day that he brought us one of the great Nats of all time for his 2 months of work for us here on a minor league free agent deal that we gave Matty. The Turner Ross deal was probably as clever a deal as we've ever made, because a rule change happened because of it. Trey was a player to be named later, and the trade happened. There was so many nuances to the trade. We had to make the trade on December 14th because of the calendar, because you can only have a player to be named later in a trade for X amount of months, and then you have to wait X amount of months from when he signed his first professional contract. So the timing on that was very unique and very defined by the rules. We had our rules person at the time, Bob Miller, was an expert at that thing, and I think that was that. Whenever they change the rule because you made a good trade, I think that says a lot about the office when we did it. Some of our smaller trades, the Daniel Hudson trade in 19 was probably as important a trade as we've ever made. We gave away one of our drafted players and to get Huddy. And I'll never forget when he walked in the clubhouse into Dave's office the day he got there. He said, "I'll do anything, anytime. I'll take the ball any day, every day." And he was true to that. And we don't win the World Series without him and Dew anchoring the back of that bullpen. So, and then you've got the to me the most courageous trade we ever made was the Soto trade, because it was a blockbuster deal with a marquee player, and to get the value that we got for that player is I think incredible, and it's a testament to all the scouts out there who scouted all these players at that trade deadline, and when you can get 2 all-star players, position players, and an all-star pitcher, and in Gore. Abrams and Wood, and then Susano. Who knows what he could be? He's a lottery ticket. He could be he could be as power potential as anybody in that trade. So it was an incredible a feat that our front office pulled off, and it showed that our process was terrific, and we trusted a lot of our field people.
All right, that was some great stuff. I really appreciate them taking the time. It was an honor for me to interview them. I mean, those 2010 teams meant the world to me personally, lived and died with them. That's why I'm here doing a podcast essentially about this baseball club. So that was a big thrill for me. Completely appreciate it. And some really cool stuff. Did not remember the Red Sox being in on Jason Worth. And I think Riz was right. I do think, ABS might have helped 2012, but at the end of the day, we needed to make some pitches. And I thought that was cool that he said that. Anyway, Nats return home, have the Padres up first. Hopefully they can keep playing as well as they're playing. Because right now, honestly, they look like a wild card contender. And that's pretty amazing. When coming into this season, a lot of us were expecting 60 wins, maybe even less. So hopefully the bats can stay hot, the pitching can keep improving, and we can talk to you next Friday, a few games above 500 still, and trending upward. So until then, thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. If you listen to the audio version, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And until next week, go Nats.